Okay, my name is Race, and we today are going to be going over citations, everybody's favorite subject. Citations, more than just a pain in the butt, I promise. Okay, what are they? Citations are used to give credit to your sources. What does this mean? When you quote somebody, or let's say you're a musician in a band and you cover a song, you always want to say who originally wrote the song or the source material and give them credit for it. Otherwise, it's considered like stealing stuff, right? I wouldn't go play Free Fallin' by Tom Petty and claim it as my own. Everybody knows that song. That's basically what you're doing with citations when you cite something in an academic paper. You're just saying, I got this from this source or this website. They're also used to make sure your sources are credible, and we're going to kind of go into that. Here's a very quick example of what citations look like. We're going to go over this a little bit later, but in-text citations look like this. This is a paper that I wrote about the effects of overpopulation on mental and psychological health, and basically this was required of me to write a 10-page paper with about 9 or 10 different academic resources. This is what it looks like to do an in-text citation in a study conducted on the population density of rats in cages. Gawker, Greeno, and Mead, 1973, found that complex learning and performance of tasks was readable, blah, 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 blah. That's what this looks like. We're going to go into this in more detail. Many of you may be familiar with what a reference or works cited section looks like, something akin to this. And we're going to break this down as well. This looks very complicated and scary. I promise you it's not as bad as it looks, but this is what a reference or works cited section looks like. Okay, you may say, Race, I don't care about this. Why should you? Nobody really cares about sources and credibility until you get into it. Credibility, defined as the quality of being trusted or believed in. We need our information to be credible. Otherwise, we can't trust what is being told to us. An example, who would be a more credible source on what it's like to be president? Me or Barack Obama? That one should be pretty obvious. First of all, by the picture. He looks way more professional and ready to go than I do. Number two, we know that Barack Obama has been president for 8 years. Now, love him, hate him, disagree with him, agree with him on his policies, whatever it is, we can both agree that if you wanted to know what it was like to be president, you'd rather ask this guy than me. That's credibility. He has credibility because he's been president for 8 years. Another example. Who would you go to for reliable information about the U.S. prison system? Your barber? He looks like a fine gentleman, I'm not going to lie. Or would you go to Dr. Ty Stevens, Director of the Criminal Justice Program at OPSU and Dean of Online Programs and Learning? This fellow. For those of you that go to OPSU, you'll recognize Ty Stevens. We work with him quite frequently. But who would you trust information more from out of these two gentlemen? Probably the professor who spent 8 years studying it and 10 years educating other people about it, rather than your barber from down the street, right? That's credibility. And that is part of what we're getting at with citations. So we'll kind of go into this. Credibility equals citations. Race, please explain. Don't worry, I will. We cite our sources for two primary reasons: to give credit where credit is due and avoid plagiarism or stealing other people's work. So that's what plagiarism is basically when you claim to have said something that you did not actually say. For instance, if you were to write in a paper and say, I wrote a famous speech that says, I have a dream. Well, we know that the I have a dream speech was written and delivered by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And to claim it as your own, we can all agree is pretty much wrong. The second reason is to know that our sources and information are credible. And we've kind of already talked about credibility. If I were to tell you that I wrote Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, you'd say, Race, no you didn't. I do look like him, I am handsome, but I did not write Living on a Prayer. The Bill of Rights I included in this picture just because it seemed very credible and official. But I think you understand that our sources and information need to come from sources that know what they're talking about. It doesn't do you any good to cite your friend Tanisha from down the street about climate change in an academic paper. You want to be quoting people who have done research, who have experience in that sort of things. You basically want to make sure that the people that you're getting your information from know what they are talking about. That's credibility. Where do citations come into play? Everybody's favorite question. Literally everyone. Okay, not really. But in any and all academic papers or presentations that you write from now until the end of time, you will be required to provide citations. I cannot think of a single academic paper or project or presentation or research that I had to write either in high school or in college where I did not have to provide my sources and citations. And citations are, again, just the information about your sources. If you go to CNN and you get an article from CNN, that's going to be your citation, CNN.com. Consequences if you YOLO. Hashtag YOLO. If you decide to just forego citation, you say, this is stupid, nobody cares, I don't need this, you will be tagged for plagiarism or stealing someone else's work, and you will be reprimanded or suspended from school. Academics take plagiarism very, very seriously. It's considered theft, essentially. You are stealing somebody else's work without telling them what you are doing, and it's very, very, very much frowned upon. So, like, you definitely want to cite your sources and provide citations, if nothing else, just to avoid not being suspended from school, because I have seen people suspended from school for multiple citation infractions. Secondly, you will lose points and grades. When you get into college, they will grade citation much, much, much more heavily. If you write the most excellent paper you've ever written and you don't cite your sources or you don't cite them properly, they'll dock you 50%. You'll only get 50% on the paper because that's how important citations are. And number three, you look silly. You'll look foolish. Academic citations and really in the news, journalism, and anything that is credible or real that you read, you have to cite your sources. This is definitely not me in a Bender mask on Halloween night. I definitely made good decisions this evening, and this is just some random person that I found on the internet. So you say, Race, fine, you made your point. How do I create these messy and terrible looking things? Number one, you can use the citation machine. And when I say the citation machine, you can find this all over the internet. Literally, if you just Google citation machine, it will come up with a machine or a web page that you can just enter your information in that will come up with the citation for you. So for instance, you go there, all you have to do is type in the website you got it from, the author, and the date that you got it. And it'll put together the entire citation just like you need it. The other resource that you need that is very important that we'll be going over is the OWL. And when I say OWL, I mean owl.purdue.edu. So this is a resource from Purdue University that basically breaks down exactly how to do these citations that we're talking about. So there's a guide. You're not on your own with this. This owl actually is drawn. I just thought it was really cool looking. This is an example of what the website looks like. Research and citation resources. So when you get here, it's got everything you need to put your citation together or to learn about it. So just going over this really quickly, the OWL resources will help you conduct research using methods, blah, blah, blah. It even has a citation machine directly built into the website. And then over here on the left, you can see different guides. So if you click on these, you can click on the different guides to the different styles. We'll go over that in just a little bit. But essentially, Purdue OWL, this website you can find on the previous page, has everything that you need to do citations. And if you can't click this link or this is too much, literally just Google Purdue OWL citations and you can get to this page. Another example, so I clicked on APA, which is American Psychological Association. This is the citation style primarily found in social sciences. So a lot of sociology, psychology, maybe even a little bit of criminal justice majors will find that you are going to work almost exclusively in the APA style. And to be honest with you, they vary between like APA, MLA, and Chicago, but really not that much. Once you understand the basic premise of what we're trying to do here and how to make it happen, the details kind of fall into place. Anyways, you click on APA, it will take you to a whole page and a formatting and style guide, the whole 9 yards. This resource, revised according to the 7th edition, so these guys are up to date, offers example of the general format of APA research papers, in-text citation, endnotes, footnotes, and the reference page. It's everything you need. They even have examples of exactly what this stuff is supposed to look like. 19 pages of it. A student paper, a professional paper. They even have footnotes describing why they did what they did and how to make it work. You can see right here. According to, I think that says Thial 2017. That's an in-text citation. Quote, 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 source material, and the page. That's it. And then it has notes on why they did it like that. It's got a breakdown of all the different pieces of citations, authors, basic rules, articles, books, etc., etc. You can explore this, but really we're trying to just get the general premise here. 2 main types of citations. Take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. In text. Literally exactly what it sounds like. In-text citation, or stuff that's actually in the material that you're reading. This is not the works cited or reference section at the end. This is just while you're reading it, you're going through, and it mentions something about where you got the source. Second main type is reference or works cited, and don't worry, we'll look at examples of both of these. The 2 main styles that I see my students utilize the most and that you will most likely run into are APA, American Psychological Association, and MLA. I believe it stands for Main Language Association. I'm not sure because I'm an APA child. So again, this is a paper that I wrote, in-text citation. In a study conducted on the population density of rats in cages, Gauckner, Greennow, and Mead, 1973, found that complex learning and performance tests. It's basically just a way for you to list your reference really quick while the reader is going through the information. So this, I go on to say that this is what they said. Learning and performance of tasks was rated below average in rats raised in high-density population environments. They theorized that this could be the result of several different causes, but came up with 2 hypotheses in particular. First, they believe, you can go on and on and on, but basically this is just to say, hey, this is the idea, this is the peer-reviewed journal and article that I got it from, let's talk about it. Then you will have both an in-text citation and you will put it on your reference sheet. You can see right down here, this is the exact citation, Gauckner, Greennow, Mead. And I know this looks really complicated and wordy, but I promise you it's not. We'll break it down in just a little bit. But these are what the 2 main types of citations look like. You say, Race, it looks complicated and it scares me and I don't like it. Here is a picture of a beautiful tree that I took a picture of during the fall of 2017. Look how many colors there are. Doesn't that calm you down? It should. Calmed me down. I thought it was beautiful. Nobody likes citations, okay? Nobody is scheduling their Friday night and they're like, I'm going to do a wild night of formatting my reference page. It's necessary, though, and it is scary looking. It looks complicated if you don't know what's happening, but we're going to kind of break it down a little bit, and I think once we're done, you'll find that what they're asking for really is not that complicated. I even said that in my presentation. Let's break it down real fast. Here's a picture of Sheldon freaking out. Don't be him. In-text citations, when you're just trying to get a general idea of what was said. So let's take our Dr. Martin Luther King example. If you're just trying to say, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about freedoms and the position of African Americans during the 1960s and the cultural oppressions and societal oppressions that they were facing. That's not a direct quote from him. You're just kind of trying to discuss the ideas that he was talking about. This is kind of what you would use for that. Really? All you need, you guys, is just the author and the date. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I honestly, please don't hate me for this, I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was like 1962, 1963. That would be it. You would say, what you were talking about in relation to him, and then you just say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 1963. That's an in-text citation for you in APA. MLA might look a little bit different, but the idea is the same. Just a quick reference so that your reader, while they're going through, knows exactly what you are referring to. An example. Race is the most incredible coach ever, and that's big facts. Race 2021. I said that because I'm awesome, and it was 2021 when I said it. Just a general idea, not a quote. Race desperately wants you to like him and hopes you find this entertaining. Race 2021. You guys get the idea. The in-text citations are quick, they're short, and they're easy. That's it. In-text citations with specific quotes. Okay, so let's say that you really want to reference Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. You'd say, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about the oppression of African Americans in modern American society, he said, I have a dream. Let the bell toll throughout the lands, or whatever this specific quote was. You would reference that. And really, the only thing you're going to do different is add the page or the exact place where you can find that. So maybe in his speech, you'd say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 1963, page 4. I have a dream. Put it in quotes. Or if you're referencing a book, I did a few of these. So we know Race is sad because in his journal he wrote, quote, Dear Diary, today my kitty was mean to me and scratched me for no reason. Really rethinking my life choices right now. End quote. Race 2021, page 31 of the Sad Diaries. Or to take it outside myself, when thinking about the afterlife, I think Professor Dumbledore phrases it best when he says, quote, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure, end quote. Albus Dumbledore, 2003, page 435. I made this up. I don't actually know when this quote was published in the Harry Potter series. I think it was right around 2003. And then I don't know what page it was on. This is just an example, but you can see that when you're using a quote, all you want to do is specifically reference the page that you found it on, or the space specifically where you found it on. So really not that hard. The most important part is the author and the date for in-text citations in the APA format. Really not that hard. This is a picture of me and my cat. She does not hate me. She did not scratch me. We chill pretty hard together. I just wanted to let you all know that we're cool. Okay, this is the scary looking page, the dreaded works cited or references page. This one, where you have all this crazy looking text. Some of it's like italicized for some reason. You got all these different little pieces. It doesn't look pretty, right? The OWL, which is where I got this from, has all of the rules listed right out for exactly how this is supposed to look. So there's already a guide, and there's already steps for you to follow to make this written. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I wanted to go over some real basic pieces. So let's break this first one down. What they like you to do is just list the authors. So usually in a book or with a academic article, journal, there's multiple authors, which is part of what makes it credible. You have not just one nerdy scientist guy telling you what's up. You got 4 that all came together and were like, yo, we all agree on this, right? Because we've all got 45 years of experience in the field, and this is what we came up with, and all the other guys say, yeah, totally, let's make this a thing. So you can know that like 6 scientific dudes came together and all agreed on this one thing they were writing about. That's pretty credible, right? So when you're listing your references, all they really want you to do is list all of the authors and just organize it by their last name and then their first initial. If they have a middle initial, they want you to list that too, but really the most important part is like Baron R, Mandel D, Adams C, Griffin L. Those are all 4 of the authors that worked on this piece that I referenced. And that's it. Just list them alphabetically, if possible, and list their last names and then their first initial. That's all this piece is. Really not that bad, especially if you only have one author. Then they want you to list the year, and you can see that's the same down here: Gawkner D, Greenode W, Mead W, and then the year. Same here, Cooper's T. These guys all have middle names. They were very thorough in listing their middle names. They want you to know who they are. But Lee N, Kanazawa S, and then the year. You can see it's the same all the way through. That's this first piece. Just list the authors, list their names, last name first, and then first initial, and then the year. I mean, that's really pretty simple. The next piece of this is the title of what you are referencing. So for this piece of academic writing that I did, I referenced academic journals, and I will post a separate video and little series on going over what that is, how to access it, yada, yada, yada. But really, my references here are just the titles of the articles that I got. If you were listing a book, it would just be the title of the book. So author name, the year they published it, book title. That's it. Or article title. Effects of social density in university residential environments. Deficits in learning tasks following. These guys really named their articles some complicated things because they wanted to sound fancy. But that's it. Cooper's T, 1996 is when he published it. Trauma and its sequelae in male prisoners. Effects of confinement, overcrowding, and diminished services. Just the article titles. So then you see this italicized bit after each of those. The italicized bit is the journal that I got it in. So just for a little bit of reference, what happens is there are journals of social psychology or orthopsychiatry, British Journal of Psychology. These are just essentially, if you guys really want to think of them like this, they're nerd magazines. They're just pieces of publications like, you know, Time Weekly or one of those horrible periodicals my mom used to pick up at the grocery store, but for people who are interested in certain subjects. So this one, you can see I referenced it a couple of times, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. So what this is literally just a connection or a compilation of all these articles that these different people wrote that these guys publish like once every 2 months. They collect all the research that's currently going on around different psychological aspects, and they just put it all in one. You can think of it like a magazine. They call them journals, but they're really just like magazines. You just read through articles of all these people who have published different things. That's kind of what these are, but essentially that's all that this piece of the reference is just saying what journal you got it from. So here's the authors, here's when they published it, here's what they called their article, their specific article, and here's the journal or magazine that I found it in. And then this gets a little specific. This is the edition. So Vogue, most of you probably know what Vogue is. How long has Vogue been going on for? Since probably like 1984. I don't know. I honestly don't read Vogue, but it's probably got 185 issues. This is just the issue. So they're saying Journal of Personality of Social Psychology, issue 34, which makes sense because this came out around 1976. This was issue 28. This came out around 1973. So it's basically just saying what edition of the magazine or the journal that you got it from. And then these are just pages. 434, I gotta stop clicking. 256, 261, these are just pages. So guys, literally, you can break this down. It looks really complicated. It's just the authors, the year that it was published, what they called their piece, where you can find it, what edition it was, which is kind of a little bit of extra, and then the pages. And that's it. That's all these references are, and that's all they're asking you for in a works cited or reference section, is just to be specific about where you got this stuff. And a little bit more about this, like, you know, you guys have all heard about why Wikipedia is not a good source. And it's because literally you or me or anybody else in the world can go on and edit the information on there to say whatever they want. I could go on to Abraham Lincoln's bio page and write that he was born in 2006 and played in the NBA against Kevin Durant and LeBron James, and he had 3 dunks. That's not true. But I can go to Wikipedia and enter that. And that's not very credible, right? Like, we can't be citing sources that anybody can just do whatever with. We want to be citing sources where 4 smart, nerdy scientist guys got on, did a bunch of research, and came up with some answers. That's what citations are about, and that's what credibility is about. Here's the basic rules. Go visit the APA or MLA Purdue OWL page. They'll list everything out. It gets specific. Then this is a skill that you need to learn and to practice. It gets specific. It's sometimes where it's like, all lines after the first line of each entry must be indented 1/2 inch. That's what this is, meaning the first line looks like this, and then the rest is indented. Specific, but something that they're looking for. All authors' names should be inverted, last names first, and then the first initials right here, et cetera, et cetera. There's a list of kind of really specific rules, but I promise you, as long as you're getting the basics of this, you know, listing it in the right order, author, year, title, page numbers, things like that, your professors will work with you. If you don't do this at all, your professors are going to dock you major points for not listing your sources. So really, even an attempt is better than nothing. Honestly, that's it. I'm going to leave it there for now. In a couple of other videos or series where we can go over, you know, a little bit more specific or answer any questions that may come up after this. But those are references. They just want you to list them in text while you're talking about the stuff, and then afterwards on a works cited section. And it's really not as complicated as it seems. They just want you to list where you got this stuff. You know, they just want to make sure that the information that you're writing about wasn't gained while you were drinking beers with your friend Joey from down the street at 3 a.m. in the morning. Nobody cares about what Joey said at 3 in the morning while he was drunk. People care about what 5 tenured professors of sociology who have spent 40 years of their life researching topics, they care about what they think because they're knowledgeable. That's credibility. That's why we cite our sources. So if you have any questions, let me know, let your coach know, let your student success coordinator know. Look this up. Go to Purdue OWL. Explore around. Just read it. I think you'll understand exactly what this is really purposed for and why it's important. But essentially, that's it.